go over the Parkinson rating scale questionnaire with you, and I will write down my interpretation of your answers. Now, you came here alone without your family, so I have no one else to ask but you. Have you had any problems with your mind, in your memory, or in your thinking,
No, not really.
concentration?
Not really. I do have moments I forget things. My mind is not as good as it used to be. My memory, that is.
But you're left alone, you travel by yourself, you
Oh,
really
yes.
have no,
I have no
you take care of
problems.
all your problems.
Yes, no problem.
Fine. Okay, let me ask you now if you have any strange thoughts, hallucinations, visual, do you have any vivid dreams?
No,
No problems like
no
that.
problem.
Do you have any depression?
I have had depression.
You've had depression
Yes.
in the past. Do you have any right now?
No, I'm more or less resigned to it now.
Okay. Now, when you say you've had depression in the past, has it lasted for a long period of time?
No, it's just short periods of depression.
What, like for a day or so, or for a week or longer, or what?
Not even a day.
Not even a day. So just transient mood swings, but nothing major. Is that right? Now, are you interested in carrying out various activities, such as going out visiting with friends, going out with your wife?
Yes, I am. I still do that.
You still like to go out?
I like to go
You
out.
enjoy socializing? You like to go to restaurants?
I do
to
feel
theater?
rather self-conscious at times because of the tremor, but I don't cut down my activities at all.
Okay, and you have no problems in getting motivated to take care of your own dressing?
No, no problems at all.
Now, how do you rate your speech? Do you think your speech is normal?
No, it's not.
How bad do you think your speech is? Do you think it's just soft? And
It's very soft. People can't understand me at times because of the softness.
Okay. So do you think it's markedly impaired or only moderately impaired?
I think it's markedly impaired.
Markedly impaired.
Yes.
And okay. Now, what about saliva? Do you tend to have a pooling of saliva in your mouth or drooling of saliva out of your mouth or when you're sleeping?
When I'm not on medication, I drool, yes, but with the medication, I don't have any.
So you have no drooling at the present
No.
time, even at nighttime when you're sleeping?
I do have at nighttime sometimes.
Do you have a mild bit when
A
you're
mild
at night?
bit, yes.
Okay. Now, do you have any trouble with swallowing?
I have trouble with pills sometimes. It gets stuck in my throat, but I pass it down with water, more water.
How about foods? Do you have any trouble swallowing foods? Do you have any choking at all?
I've had choking, yes.
You haven't?
Yes.
Is it very infrequent?
Infrequent, though.
Very, very infrequent.
Right.
Now, how's your handwriting been?
Terrible.
You have a very bad handwriting?
Yes.
And are the words legible or not?
I think somebody not knowing. No, I don't think they're
The
legible.
words are not legible.
It's at times. There are times when I could write perfectly, but there are other times like this now I couldn't write.
I see. So are you telling me you have good periods and bad periods?
Yes.
Okay, and at your worst it's illegible, but at your best?
Very good.
So your handwriting, would you say, is normal when you're at your best?
When I'm at my best, it's normal, close to normal.
Okay. In terms of your speech, has your speech changed also, whether you're very good or very bad?
That seems to stay the same, the speech.
No matter what?
No matter what.
And the drooling of saliva or the swallowing, that's no change either?
No,
or
there's no change in it.
Now what about cutting your food? Let's say at your best and at your worst.
I have problems cutting my food.
All the time? Or is it different from one time to another?
It differs. That differs.
Okay,
Sometimes
at your worst, how bad is your cutting your food?
I can still cut.
You can still cut it yourself?
Yes.
You can cut a thick steak?
Yes, I can cut with plenty of effort.
Okay. Now, at your best, how difficult or how easy is it to cut that steak?
It's easy.
Is it normal?
At my best.
Would you
I
say
would
it's
say
normal?
it's normal.
You would say it's normal. Now, in terms of dressing, do you have difficulties with dressing?
No, I don't.
Even when you're at your worst?
Even when I'm at my worst.
Is it slow at all?
It's slow.
It is slow, but
It
you
is
do
slow.
all the things yourself?
Yes.
You do need any help with buttoning or getting your arms and sleeves?
No.
Okay. And at your best, are you still slow?
At my best, I'm slow.
You're still slow, so there's no real difference between
No.
your best and
I'm always slow.
your worst. Now, in terms of hygienic care, do you need any help at all?
No. I take care of all my hygienic needs myself.
I see. Okay. Now, would you say that you're slow or you're normal speed?
Slow.
You're slow. Are you slow both at your worst and at your best?
Yes, I'm always slow.
Now, what about turning in bed? Do you have difficulty getting in and out of bed first?
I have had trouble turning in bed. Not getting in and out, but turning.
Turning in bed is a problem.
Yes, right.
Do you have to sit up in order to turn?
Yes, I have to
So that
lean on my elbows.
you have to lean up on your elbows in order to turn.
Right.
Are you able to adjust any of the bed sheets yourself, bed clothing?
Yes, I can.
That's no problem.
No.
Okay. Now, is this when you're at your worst or at your best that you're describing your adjusting the sheets?
This seems to be at my worst.
And what about when you're at your best?
There's not much difference.
Okay. Now, do you have any falling when you're walking? Have you ever fallen?
No. I never fall. I don't fall.
You have not
able to
fallen.
grab and get myself.
So that's even when you're at your worst, you haven't fallen.
Yes.
Have you ever had any freezing when you walked? You know what I mean by freezing?
No.
I mean that your
I said, can't move.
feet are glued to the ground for a short
I
period of
haven't
time.
had that feeling, no.
You never had that?
Never had that.
Now, how do you rate your walking?
Poor.
Okay, let's talk about how bad you think it is. You think it's severely involved or moderately involved?
Severely involved.
Severely involved. Do you require any assistance?
No.
So you require no assistance. You never had required any assistance.
Never.
And that's even when you're at your worst.
At my worst, I can still walk.
Okay. So you would say that you can walk with difficulty but requires no assistance.
No assistance.
Now, is that at your worst or at your best?
It's at my worst.
And what about when you're at your best?
I can walk a little better, a little faster.
Okay, so how would you rate your walking then?
If I concentrate on walking fast, I can do it.
So you're not normal even when you walk
No, I'm not.
when you're at your best?
Right.
Okay. Now, we see that you have some tremor, and I think you feel tremor is your worst symptom.
That's the worst thing.
That's the worst thing for you.
Yes.
And the tremor is mostly in your hands.
In my hands.
You do have some in,
I have my face.
yes, you do have some up there.
And occasionally I get it in my leg.
Okay. Now, how bad do you think the tremor is? I'm going to ask you some questions about it. Let's talk about at your worst. By the way, you think you're at your worst right now?
Yes, I'm at my worst.
So you're at one of your worst points.
Definitely.
Do you think this tremor interferes with most of your activities, many of your activities, or only some of your activities?
Many of my activities.
Many of your activities. When you're at your best, how bad's the tremor?
Sometimes it can be almost unnoticeable
It's
if I'm relaxed.
still there, but
It's still there,
but it
it's-
doesn't interfere with any activity.
No.
Now, have you ever had any pain, burning, numbness, or tingling sensations?
No.
Never had any. of
Never
that.
had that.
Okay, I would like you to take your glasses off, and if we can have the camera focus on his face. Show us your teeth. Good. Close your eyes tightly. Squeeze them shut. Open them quickly. Fine. I want you just to look right over at me for a minute. Over the other wall now. Fine. Look all the way down. Look all the way down to the floor. Okay, fine. Look all the way up. Very good. Okay, just keep your eyes, you can look at the camera. Okay, you can put your glasses back on. I would like the camera to focus on his mouth, and if you just open your mouth and stick your tongue out and focus right on the tongue. Okay. Now if we can just focus on the tremor of your hands. Just leave your hands just like that first. And we'll focus on your feet. Can you just uncross your feet first? Okay. Now I would like you to put your arms out in front of your body. We'll have the camera focus on your arms. Fine, let the tremor come out. Now I'm going to take this index finger and touch your nose with it. Fine, touch my finger, go back and forth a few times. Very good. Let's try the other side. Okay, fine. You can put them down. Now, I'm going to just test for some rigidity. And the legs. Okay. Next I want you to do is to take your index fingers and tap your thumb repeatedly, but as big and fast as possible. Let's do both sides at the same time. Big ones now. Okay. Now, I want you to take your whole fist and open and close them big and fast as you can. Okay. Now, I want you to take your hands and turn them completely all the way over as fast as you can. Fine. Now, let's tap one leg at a time, just your heel on your right side. Big ones on the heel. As big as you can. Let's hear the noise. Now the other side. Okay, thank you. Now I'm going to ask you to get out of the chair, but I want you to do it in a special way. Put your arms on your chest. And now let's try to stand up. Okay, very good. Let's face sideways. You can put your arms down now. And we want to try to get a measure of your posture from the video camera. Okay, I'm going to have you walk back and forth to that wall and then over towards this desk. Could you walk back and forth? Fine. Just stand there for a minute. In fact, just turn around. It'll be easier. I'm going to test your balance now. Comfortable? You know this test. Don't let me knock you over. Ready? Fine. Let's try it a little harder. Okay. Now, you can sit down again. Can you hold the camera for a second till I sit down again? On. Now I'm going to ask you some questions about the effects of your medication. Do you have any dyskinesias? You know what I mean by dyskinesias?
No.
Involuntary movements, other than the tremor?
None other than...
You never had any involuntary
No.
movements? Do you ever have any cramping of your muscles, like particularly early in the morning, painful cramps?
No.
Now, you told me that you do get periods of the day when, as if the medicine is not as good as other times.
That's correct.
Are those, we call those low periods offs, those low
I
periods.
find that when I take the medicine, immediately after taking the medicine, the tremor's worse. And then it calms down after that.
Okay, and then when does it get better?
About a half an hour later.
And how long does it stay good for?
A couple of hours.
And then what happens?
I have to take you have to take
Because
it.
what, the
Tremor
tremor
goes
starts to come back again.
Right.
So those low periods are always predictable?
Yes.
You never have any low periods like that which are unpredictable?
No, not really.
Are any of those low periods that come on very suddenly, or are there always this gradual feeling of...
It's a gradual, don't realize it.
Okay, and how much of the day would you say that you're on, let's say percentage time of the day would you say you're on? What percentage time of the day would you say you have these low periods?
About 50%.
50% on and 50%
50%
off?
off.
So you're about 50-50 in other words. Do you have any upset stomach or feelings of nausea or vomiting or diarrhea or any problems
No,
like that?
not from the medication I'm taking now.
Do you have any problems with your sleep?
No.
You fall asleep easily?
Sleep
well?
sound.
And you have no troubles during the daytime of being too drowsy or any other problems?
Yeah, times when I'm drowsy,
But nothing out of the normal?
nothing out of normal.
Do you have any symptoms of feeling lightheaded when you first stand up?
No.
Now I'm going to ask you to look at this list of activities of daily living and rate yourself for me. You've seen this before, I believe, so starting right here. If you can start at 100, read that, go to 90, read that, and so forth. And tell me what number you would rate yourself.
First one, 80%. 80% on the first one.
So you've read below 80%, and you think you're at least 80%. Is that
Yes.
it?
I read the first one.
Okay. That's 80% right here. You read that?
Oh. Oh, I see. Oh,
Yeah,
that's-
read each of the percentages and give me the right percent that you think affects you.
%90.
You think I'll read this out loud. You think you're completely independent, able to do all chores with some degree of slowness, difficulty, and may take twice as long?
Right.
Uh-huh. Okay. Fine. Thank you very much.
You are.
Very much for participating in this evaluation of the Parkinson scoring form. You're taking medication right now, are you?
Yeah, I did. I do. I take medicine every day.
What medicines do you take?
Cinemet, 25, 250, 3 times a day, but half of that means 125 milligrams each time, 3 times a day.
I see. Very good. Now, how is your mind? Is your memory good?
I think memory is all right. I can memorize.
And
yeah.
you can travel by yourself. You don't get lost.
No, I don't get lost. I travel myself every day.
Are you still working?
I'm still working, yes.
Okay, and what do you do?
I'm an analyst. I'm a chemistry, analytical chemist.
Okay,
Yeah.
fine. Now let me ask some other questions. Do you have any problems with hallucinations or vivid dreams?
No, that's definitely not.
Okay. Do you have any depression?
No, not. Sometimes I think I have this kind of sickness. I feel, why should I have it? I feel, but just momentarily, and because it doesn't affect very much of my life at the present time.
Okay. Now, do you have any loss of interest in doing things that you normally would have done, like going to the theater, going out with friends, going to a nice restaurant?
Yes, I don't want to go out to the park or some picnic. I have to always extended walking, something I not like I used to. I lost some interest in outing.
Okay. So, so some of these non-routine activities you seem to be less interested in doing than you used to
Right.
be. But how about doing things around that are normal routines for you? Do you have any less interest in doing that?
No, that I can take care of myself doing daily chore. Yes, I didn't lose any interest in that.
We're going to pause for a minute to answer the telephone. Let me ask you some other questions. How do you think your speech has been?
I think some voice changed. I noticed that maybe some changes.
What particular have you noticed?
Especially in the morning, I go to work. I talk to my people, and sometimes I hear the voice seems not my own. but momentarily afterwards, I don't know. I didn't notice.
So you think your voice is affected somehow? Is it
I
softer?
fact some softer. Yes,
It's
that's what
softer.
it is.
Can people understand you well?
Yeah, they understand me.
They
Yes.
have no troubles.
No trouble
You
understanding
think your
me.
voice is slurred?
Yeah, a little soft. Yes.
A little bit. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, tell me about the saliva in your mouth. Do you tend to drool saliva?
Yeah, sometimes I lie down and then especially I go to take a nap or something, the saliva flow out of mouth. Didn't notice and then later I see it.
Okay.
I come to sometimes my noontime lunch, I maybe just temporarily doze off and I see the saliva. When I wake up, I see the saliva over my mouth.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, what about swallowing? Do you have any
No.
choking at all?
No difficult for swallowing.
No
Swallowing.
choking at all?
No choking.
All right. How about your writing? Is your handwriting
The writing
affected?
seems, I first write normal size and eventually toward the end become small. I noticed that.
I see. It's all legible,
All legible, yes.
so there's no difficulty with that. But it is small. Would you say it's moderately small and slow, or
Moderately small.
moderately?
Yeah.
Now, how about cutting your food?
No problem.
You have no difficulty cutting food.
Except very tough because it
If
takes
you
some
had to
time.
cut a steak, for
Yeah,
example.
I think I have a little
I
difficulty.
see. But you otherwise would cut all the food yourself?
Yeah.
Okay, so you just have difficulty cutting.
Yeah, right.
Now, what about dressing?
Dressing, I button up, I have difficulties. Maybe take no more than twice as much time.
But you do everything yourself?
Yes, I button up myself, I dress myself. Yes.
You don't need any assistance?
No.
And how about washing up and showering and shaving?
Yeah, shaving I have a difficulty because the movement of the razor, I'm afraid to cut my skin. Very much slow down like I used to.
But you do it all yourself?
I do all myself.
You need any help in showering?
No.
Now, how about turning over in bed? You have difficulty with
No,
that?
I use two hands to turn.
You do? Do you have to sit up in order to turn?
Yeah, no. I use my hands to press on the bed and then turn.
And can you handle the bed sheets? Pull them up towards you and things like that?
No problem.
No problem with that. Now, do you have any trouble with falling? Do you have a tendency to fall?
Sometimes I start to walk and it seems in my foot it does not have my command. And then I step it, and then a small step tendency to fall.
I see. So that's only when you tend to freeze.
Right, yes,
I
tend to
see.
freeze, and then if you want to go forward, you have the tendency to fall. That's what
So you do have a tendency to freeze then?
Yes.
How often does that occur?
That's whenever I'm anxious to move, and then the leg does not
So that's quite
take my
frequent
command.
then, is it?
Yeah, right.
That's
Frequent.
quite
Actually,
frequent.
That's true.
But have you fallen from it?
No.
You've never actually fallen yourself?
I almost fall, but never exactly actually fall.
Now, have you ever fallen just because your walking is poor in general, but not related to freezing? Just by
I
walking
fall
along
by
without
walking
freezing?
on the ice. I fall once, but I don't think.
Otherwise you don't, okay. Now, how's your walking been in general, other than the freezing?
General, I feel it's kind of hard to walk. Not like a regular. Before I walk very lightly. There's no problem. Now I need effort to walk.
But you don't need any assistance though. Do you?
No, I don't need assistance.
So you walk you're independent. You walk,
Yeah,
but it's
independent, but it's hard to walk.
hard to walk. So you would say it's moderately difficult to
Yeah,
walk?
moderately difficult. Yes.
Now, do you have any tremor?
I don't notice that.
You've never noticed any tremor?
Very seldom have any tremor.
Do you have any sensory symptoms like pain or numbness or tingling or burning?
Tingling maybe.
Where do you have tingling?
When I maybe go to bed and lie in bed, my leg a little tingling.
Uh-huh.
Otherwise, I wouldn't feel that.
I see. So you don't have tingling during the daytime,
No.
just in
Tingling
certain
very-
postures only?
Yeah, that's very seldom.
Okay. I would like a close-up of his face now. Okay, will you just show us your teeth? Fine, relax. Close your eyes tightly. Squeeze them shut hard, really hard. Keep them forcefully closed. Okay, open them quickly. Good. Open them. Look up at the ceiling. All the way up. Fine. Without moving your head, look at my pen. Look at the pen over here. Look all the way up the pen. Look all the way down. Very good. Stick out your tongue. Okay. Okay, can we get a close-up of his hands? And then a close-up of his feet. No, not necessary. Now I would like to finger and touch your nose and touch my finger. Good. Now try the other hand. Same thing. Touch my finger again. Very good. Now I'm going to test for muscle tone. Open and close this hand. Okay, fine, relax. Open and close this hand. Okay. Now your legs. No, drop them down. Or you let me pick them up. You don't try to help me. Let it go loose. Fine. Let it go loose. Your thumb. Now the other side. Now do both together. Okay, fine. All right. Now take your hands and turn them all the way over as fast and big as you can. All right, thanks. Now I want you to tap your right foot, just the heel on the ground, so we can hear it. Now the left. Okay, very good. Fine. Very good. Now I'm going to have you we'll look at your posture. Just turn and face the wall a minute. You can put your arms down. Turn and face that wall. Turn your whole body. Just stop now, okay? Fine. Now turn again and face this wall. The other wall. Okay, very good. Check your balance now. That's good. You want them like this? Okay, I'm going to try to knock you backwards, Dr. Yang. You try not to fall. Ready? You know how this test goes? Okay, I'll try it one more time, a little harder this time. Very good. Okay. Fine. You can have a seat now in that chair. Very good. Are we good on this angle? Do you ever have any dyskinesias from the medication?
So what medication?
Involuntary movements from your cinnamon?
No.
Never had any involuntary movements?
No.
Do you ever have any painful cramps in
No.
your muscles?
No.
Does your medicines tend to work all day long, or is
No,
this,
it's not working all day long. After I take it, after breakfast, 1 hour later I feel it's very good. I can walk very easily. And after 2 or 3 hours I feel I have a need effort to walk.
I see. So you notice that the medicine seems
I
to wear
definitely
off.
notice medicine is on and off some
I see. Now, how much of the day does this happen after every dose?
every dose.
I see. It's predictable, is it?
Almost predictable.
Okay.
Because after I take 1 hour later I feel good.
Do you have any that are unpredictable? Any of these offs?
No.
Do any of your offs occur very suddenly?
What the question?
Do you always, when these offs occur,
Yeah.
is it always like a slow, gradual?
Slowly,
not sudden.
gradual, not suddenly, no. Not suddenly.
Now, what part of the day would you say that you're off, and what part of the day would you say you're on?
I think before I take the second dose, that's mostly is ineffective. After I take the dose immediately and within 1 hour, I feel just become normal activity.
Yes, but if you had to add up all your waking hours of the day,
Yeah.
and you're off part of the time and you're on part of the time,
Yeah.
what percent would you say of the day was off, and how much
Off
percent
about
was on?
half and half. Right?
About 50-50?
Yeah.
So you're off 50% of the time then?
Yeah. Oh yes.
You think as much as that?
Yes, I think as much as that.
Now, do you have any side effects like nausea or vomiting,
No,
or
I do not have
loss
any.
of appetite?
No.
No troubles with that. Do you have any troubles with your sleeping?
No problem.
Do you have any feelings of lightheadedness when you stand up?
No.
Okay, I want to thank you very much for participating in this.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Right there.
Right, exactly the one.
I can't tell if the whole body view or what you got
Oh, I
without,
got the, whole body.
without the wire being on, without the TP monitor. Thank you very much for coming and having yourself being videotaped for this project. I'm going to ask you some questions, and I'll ask you to talk into the microphone so that we can record it. First of all, we know you have Parkinson's, and I'm going to ask you how you think your mind is.
Slow, like everything else.
You don't think you're as sharp as you used to be?
No.
Are you forgetful at all?
Yes, somewhat.
You have recollection difficulties?
Yes.
How bad would you say this problem is with your memory?
Well, since I'm retired, I mean, there's nothing very serious ordinarily, but there are times when it...
But you're oriented to the date and time, and you know exactly what's going on in the world. So
I wouldn't add exactly.
You still think you're not as good as you should be?
Yes.
Okay. Do you do all the work with the checkbook at home, and you handle a lot of the mail?
Not all of it, and it's less and less.
You read books?
Yes, less and less.
Less and less.
Yes.
Okay. Now, do you have any kinds of hallucinations or vivid dreams?
No.
What about depression?
Well, it comes once in a while.
Doesn't last very long?
No.
Now, what about your desire to do things, go out to the theater, to restaurants, visit with friends, partake in other activities?
Take it all. It is slower, and it is less.
So, how bad is it, this lack of motivation?
It's pretty bad, especially since my wife is tied down completely. She's the one that suffers, really.
So, the non-routine activities, you don't care to participate in those either?
Routine activities?
Well, routine or non-routine? Routine means like taking a shower, getting dressed. I mean, that you have no problem with. You like to do all that.
Yes, I like to do
And the non-routine, like going out to visit someone?
having people come in to visit us.
Yes.
We like to do that.
You do like to do that. So
Yes.
you do like to participate in those kinds of
Yes.
things. But so it's just mildly affected in this problem with not as much as usual, as I take it. Is that
Well,
correct?
that's right.
Now, how do you think your speech is?
It always was quite soft, and now it's much softer than it used to be.
You think it's slurred
Partially, yes.
and it's soft, but you're quite understandable, it seems to me.
Well, it is quite understandable, but not as lively as it used to be.
Now, what about your saliva? Do you find yourself having extra amount of saliva in your mouth or drooling saliva?
I find it rarely
When do you tend to have it?
when I'm sitting doing nothing.
I see. How about at nighttime when you're sleeping? Do you tend to drool saliva at all?
No.
So it's mainly when you're sitting doing nothing that you tend to accumulate a little bit. But I see you don't use a handkerchief or a tissue with you. You don't have that kind of drooling.
No.
Now, is your swallowing okay?
Yes.
No choking at all?
No choking.
How's your handwriting been?
Worse and worse.
Is it legible at all?
Well, if I write slowly, it is legible. But if I'm in a hurry to write something down, it gets smaller and smaller until it winds up in a scrawl that's illegible.
Now, do you have any difficulty with feeding, such as cutting your food or feeding yourself?
Yes. Cutting a steak is a problem.
Somebody have to cut it for you?
Yes.
But other you can do the other
Ordinary
kinds of
cutting I can
cutting, and you
do
certainly
myself.
feed yourself. Is that right?
Yes.
And what about your dressing? Do you have any trouble with dressing?
Yes. Not when I have had enough cinnamon,
Okay.
but when I'm lacking cinnamon, I just have, it's nearly impossible to get dressed.
I see. You could not. You would be completely helpless if you didn't have enough cinnamon, or you could still help with some things.
Well, I could still manage most of the things, but not regular dressing. It takes me an hour to get dressed.
And if the cinnamon is working,
No
problem at all? Is it
problem
normal?
with that. Yes.
we're going to pause for. We're going to go back and ask the question about handling your food again, because now that we know that you have periods when you're good and periods when you're bad, I'd like to talk about cutting your food in both of those periods. Like, how are you when your cinnamon is working? You're on.
No problem at
You
all.
can cut your food normally.
Yes.
So what you told me before about cutting your food that was slow and difficult, like a steak, was when you're off. Is that right?
That's right.
And your handwriting, is there any problem? Is your handwriting changed by the nature of your
As I
Parkinson?
said, when I'm writing slowly, I'm all right. But if I try to speed up, it winds up in a...
But how about
script.
when the medicine is working? Is it still true? You still have trouble with your handwriting even then?
Yes.
So that's not changed. All right. And your speech, is your speech changed when you're on or off?
I'm not aware of it.
So that seems to be the same all the time. And your saliva seems to be constant too?
Yes.
And your swallowing, but you said your swallowing is good anyway. Well, let's talk about your washing up and showering and shaving, brushing your teeth. Now,
Well,
how are you when you're on your best, and how are you when you're your worst?
on my best, it's nearly normal.
Okay.
It will be overall slower, but it would be nearly normal.
And then your worst?
At my worst, I just can't handle it. I can't dry myself.
Can you brush your teeth?
No.
So you really need a lot of help for most everything.
Yes.
Well, let's talk about your ability to manipulate your body in bed. Are you able to turn in bed?
No.
Now, is this even when the medicine is working?
When the medicine is working, I think it's nearly normal.
Okay. So you're just somewhat slow when the medicine is working.
Well, I'm trying to get the picture. I'm helpless. You know?
Virtually helpless in turning in bed?
Yeah.
Can you get in and out of bed at all?
No.
This is really when the medicine stops working though, right?
That's
But when it's working, you're okay.
yes.
You're almost normal, you say.
Yes, near normal.
Okay, we're gonna have to pause again for the telephone, excuse me. Okay, let's talk about your walking and, first of all, do you fall at all?
I fall, but rarely. The last time I fell was not even what I would call a fall, because I was just sliding
I see.
from to.
So it's a rare thing that
It's
you
a
have.
rare occurrence.
Do you freeze at all when you walk?
Yes.
Okay. And how often do you freeze?
Well,
Is it rare, or is it quite often, or just occasional?
no, it's occasional. Yeah.
Occasional freezing. All right. And this freezing, do you notice any difference in your freezing whether you're on or when you're off?
I think when I'm on, it's practically non-existent.
Okay. And the same thing's true probably with your falling, I would guess.
Yes.
Now, what about your walking? How much of a problem is your walking?
Well, if the Cinemet is fully effective, walking is no problem.
You think your walking is normal, or you think there's still some difficulty?
Well, it's slower and
So it's not normal. it's
somewhat
slow.
insecure, I would say.
And if the Cinemet is not working,
It's terrible.
are you able to walk at all?
Well,
you need
with
assistance?
with assistance.
With the system.
Like when we came here this afternoon, I mean, I couldn't walk from the elevator without assistance. I couldn't walk from the curb into the building without assistance.
Well, we see you have a cane, but you also had a fractured hip
Yes,
fall, so
yes.
that may explain why you need the cane. Now, what about tremors? Are you bothered by tremors at all?
Very little.
Do you ever have tremor?
Yes.
Is it just slight and infrequent?
Slightly.
Is it mainly when the Cinemet is working or when not working?
I would say when it's not working.
Do you ever have any sensory complaints like numbness, tingling, pain, burning?
I sometimes get a pain in the neck, but it goes away.
Do we know that it's related to your Parkinson's, or could you have some arthritis or
couldn't,
something else?
I couldn't relate it to anything.
So we don't know that it's really related to Parkinson's. Okay. Now, if we can just focus on his face a little bit, Carol. Okay. And now his hands for tremor. Sure. What happened? Okay, she had it turned off. Just both hands or just the left hand? Let's go back to finger to nose. Start with your right hand. Okay, now the left hand. Okay. Now let me just test for rigidity. Let me move it. That's fine. Okay. Of course, your Cinemet's not working because you took it about a little over a half hour or so. But more than about an hour. Let it go loose. Let me pick it up. Now I'm going to ask you to tap your index fingers on your thumb, put them out in front of your body, and do like both. You can do both sides if you want. Big ones as you can and fast as you can. Okay, now try to make them as big as possible. Okay. Now I'm going to ask you to open and close your fists as big as you can and as fast as you can. Okay. Now I'm going to ask you to turn your hands back and forth as full and as complete as possible, and again as fast as possible. Okay. I want you to do your heel so we can hear it. Now your left. Let's try your right again. Now your left again. Okay. Now we're going to ask you to show us how you... Now we see a little tremor. A little tremor comes through now, which I didn't see earlier. Is that on the videotape? Okay, now I'm going to ask you to show us how you get out of the chair, but first put your arms on your chest. Stand up. Okay, want to try it again? You're stuck right now. Do you need to use your hands? Okay, go ahead. Can you stand all the way up? This chair is not as good as the one in the office, is it? Do you have problems like this at home too? When you want to get out of a chair? So what I see in the office is better than this. It may have to do with the height of the chair. Okay. You want to hold on to me? I'll give you a little more leverage. Ready? Okay. Can you stand now by yourself or not? Come forward a little bit. Okay, so you're having more trouble with it. Can you turn sideways and face me? They can have a chance to see your posture. Are you able to stand by yourself? I'll better get behind you. Okay, in this posture, I guess you can see that from the videotape. Also, was more nervous today, and it's a little worse. Okay, we're going to have you... can you walk now, or do you want your cane? You would prefer the cane. Come back to this table, if you can. Yes. Okay. Can you turn around again? All right. Let's have you walk one more time. And turn around one more time. Now, you're a little stuck turning, aren't you? Okay. Fine. We're going to have you sit down. Actually, there was one test I forgot to do, and that's the pull test. Maybe we better do that right now. Let me help you get up. You steady? You know this test, because we do it all the time in the office. Okay, that was a soft touch. Okay. Let me just write some notes on here. Now, you know what I mean by the word dyskinesias, don't you? Involuntary movements.
Yes,
Do you ever have any of those?
yes.
How much of the day would you say you have those? 10% of the day?
No,
Not even that much, or more?
rare,
Rarely. So you have them just occasional.
Yes,
And they're not disabling, I take it.
no,
Now, are they associated with pain in any way?
no,
No pain. Do you ever have painful cramps in the morning when you wake up? In your feet, particularly?
no.
Now, you told us earlier that you do have a lot of offs during the day, that is when the medicine doesn't seem to be working. How much of the day would you say you're off and how much of the day would you say you're on? In percentages?
It's very hard to judge this.
Is it 50-50 or are you off more often than you're on?
No, I'm not as often as on.
You're on more than 50% of the day. So you're off at least 25% of the day and probably closer to 35 or 40?
30 to 40.
Okay. Now, when you get off, is it predictable that you know when you're going to get off? Or that you know that it's time to the medicine in some way?
No, not that way.
Are any
the
of your
the
offs...
other way, to go from off to on, I feel
You feel what?
that cinema is effective.
The cinema's effective. But can you tell, do you know for a fact that if you wait too long that you will go off?
Yes,
And that's fairly predictable.
yes,
Okay. Now, do you also have unpredictable offs that sometimes they come off and you didn't... It doesn't seem to be related to your cinema schedule, or not?
I cannot relate.
I see. All of it is all your offs related to your cinema or not?
I would say it's there.
It is.
Yeah.
So there's no unpredictable offs. Are any of your offs come on suddenly, or do you sort of feel the medicine wearing off?
Gradually.
It's always gradual. Okay. Do you have any upset stomach from the cinema? Nausea or vomiting or diarrhea?
No,
No. Do you have any trouble with your sleep pattern, either sleeping too much or too little?
no, I sleep well.
Do you have any symptoms of lightheadedness when you stand up?
Yes,
Do you feel lightheaded on standing?
yes, especially after I have been lying in bed for a longer period of time.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you because we know we put you through an ordeal here. And it was an effort on your part to get here, and we really do appreciate it. So
But
thank
I
you very
hope
much.
I hope it was of some use.
I think it'll be very useful.
Some of these questions are very hard to answer because the action or not action is it's not. I can't register it, you know. Can't. Well, what's the use?
Well, you've done very well. So thank you. One last question I forgot to ask you, and that is how well you think you're functioning with your activities of daily living. And we have this list, and I know your wife usually does this for me, but maybe you can do it for me. Or else we can ask your wife to come and help us with this.
Well, I think he would answer.
Okay. Why don't you look at this list yourself? In the meantime, since it'll take some time to look at it, why don't we turn the video off? You've had a chance to look over this list.
About 70%.
Now, I'm going to ask you, the 70% is when the cinema is working, when the cinema seems to be off.
When it's working.
When it's working. So you think you're about 70% when the cinema is, when you're at your best.
Yes.
What are you like when you're at your worst? Take a look at this list again. In the meantime, we'll turn to what number you rate yourself when you think you're at your worst.
40%.
Okay, so you say 70% when you're at your best and 40% when you're at your worst.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.